2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus, in partnership with Providence Health Systems, presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive healthcare network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Protesting anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the power's even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seas with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Red Hamptons, the Harriets, the Chariots, the Carriers.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and Chief White House Correspondent. I'm in touch, and so guess what? Tag, you're it. You be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up. Fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. So you get to hang with us live in afternoon drive time. And then whatever it is that you couldn't catch, or whatever it is that you want a little bit more of. Sometimes you need an extra dose, right? We got you covered with our podcast. And so be sure to check us out there. We have a really great show in store for you today. I'm really looking forward to talking to a real life presidential historian. We're just moments away from talking to a real presidential historian. Talmadge Boston will be joining us in moments to talk about his new book, How the Best Did It, Leadership Lessons from Our Top Presidents. And in our second hour, we're going to be talking with Lanisa Frederick. Does that name sound familiar to you? It might. She's an award-winning actor and writer whose podcast, Black and Cultivated, is a comedy-driven series where she interviews former Black and Brown cult members like herself as they share experiences having survived cult life. And so we have two phenomenal guests for you this hour. But first, that's right, you guessed it. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, the Associated Press is reporting a big win for the First Amendment, a big win for journalists across the country. The AP wins reinstatement to White House event after a judge ruled that the government can't bar its journalists. That's right, a federal judge ordered the White House today to restore the Associated Press's full access to cover presidential events, affirming the First Amendment grounds that the government cannot punish news organizations for the content of its speech. Imagine that. U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden, who was an appointee of President Trump, he ruled that the government can't retaliate against the AP's decision not to follow the president's executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico. The decision handed the AP a major victory at a time when the White House has been challenging the press on several levels. Now, it's unclear whether the White House would move immediately to put McFadden's ruling into effect, but McFadden held off on implementing his order for a week, giving the government time to respond to his appeal. You might remember the AP has been blocked since February 11th from being among the small group of journalists to cover Trump in the Oval Office or aboard Air Force One, with sporadic ability to cover him at events in the East Room. And so for folks that want to geek out with me for a second, there's something called the press pool. And there are 13 journalists that sort of follow the president everywhere they go. And they typically, report and send their reports through what's called a pool report, and it goes to the wire services. And so he had barred a number of journalists at the AP from covering him. But no more, says the Supreme Court, no more. In other news, speaking of the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court's they blocked a ruling that 16,000 fired federal workers must be rehired. This is not great news for a lot of folks, not just here in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area where I'm currently at, but this is major news for federal workers across the country. The Guardian reporting that the U.S. Supreme Court has handed Donald Trump a reprieve from a judge's ruling that his administration must hire 16,000 probationary workers fired in its purge of the federal bureaucracy, just a day after ruling that in the White House's favor to allow the continued deportation of alleged Venezuelan gang members. The court gave the White House a less clear-cut victory in halting the order of a California court that dismissed workers from 6 government agencies must be rehired. The court struck down by a 7-2 majority last month's ruling by a U.S. District Court judge because nonprofit groups, they had sued on behalf of fired workers. Now, they're saying those folks had no standing. They had no legal standing. So it did not rule on the firings themselves, which affected probationary workers in the Pentagon, the Treasury, and Departments of Energy, Agriculture, Interior, and Veterans Affairs. 2 of the court's liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, dissented. This victory, though limited, is likely to embolden the Trump administration in the belief that the spat of legal reverses that it's faced since taking office can eventually be overturned by the Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority. And so not welcome news, but that's the latest in this fight for our federal workers. We are now joined by our very, very special guest. I am really pleased to welcome a real-life presidential historian, Talmadge Boston. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Glad to be on your show.
Well, we're so glad to have you here with us. Listen, for folks who aren't familiar, you have a book that's out right now. It's called How the Best Did It, Leadership Lessons from Our Top Presidents. And for folks who are less familiar, it provides a real accessible and insightful exploration of the leadership traits of 8 iconic U.S. presidents. This is a book that's been endorsed by Pulitzer-winning historians, offers very valuable lessons for today's leaders. The first question that comes to mind is, how does President Trump stack up against the 8 presidents that you write about in this book?
Well, Harry Truman famously said that it takes 50 years for the dust to settle, before we're in a position to evaluate somebody's long-term performance. Obviously, President Trump had a first term a little over 4 years ago, and now he's just started his second term. So the eight presidents who I chose as our greatest: Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, both Roosevelts, Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Reagan, have all been gone a sufficient length of time to be able to evaluate their legacies, not only in their era, but decades and in some cases centuries later. So it's a little early to draw any final conclusions. Obviously, in the second term in particular, so much has happened so fast since he was sworn in, and how it's all going to play out over the next 3.5 years remains to be seen. He obviously has quite a backing of 50% of the country. He's also an amazing comeback politician, like we've never seen before, to be defeated and then be able to come back against all kinds of odds. So he is a fascinating historical figure, and there's going to be certainly a lot of commentary for the rest of my lifetime and yours on his performance, since there are such strong opinions on both sides of the aisle, those who adore him and those who despise him.
When we come forward, I want to ask you about presidential comebacks. There are those comeback stories where they literally return to office, as is the case with President Trump. But there are plenty of stories of presidents experiencing both peaks and valleys throughout their presidencies. I want to learn from you what we can learn from them about navigating those peaks and valleys. More with Talmadge Boston, the author of How the Best Did It: Leadership Lessons from Our Top Presidents. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with Talmadge Boston. He's a distinguished author and presidential historian. He's here with us discussing his upcoming book, How the Best Did It, Leadership Lessons from Our Top Presidents. Talmadge, before the break, I was asking you about comeback stories. President Trump represents probably one of the greatest comeback stories we've ever seen in presidential history. But talk to us about what we can learn about presidential comebacks from the 8 presidents that you studied. Clearly, every president has to experience sort of peaks and valleys throughout their presidency. Tell us about what insights we can glean from a presidential comeback that may apply to our everyday lives. Talmadge, are you there? All right, we are working on getting the sound of Talmadge Boston back with us. And as soon as we have that, we will go back to Talmadge Boston, as I am super interested in his work. It's not often you have a chance to talk to presidential historians who have studied 8 presidents. And so as soon as we have him back, we will go right back to that conversation. But in the meantime, there still is no shortage of your national news headlines, news that that you should definitely know. For folks that have students in college, for folks that are concerned about students in college right now, particularly international students, you definitely want to hear this story. The Associated Press reporting that colleges around the U.S. say that some international students' visas are being revoked. That's right. Colleges around the country are reporting that some of their international student visas are being revoked unexpectedly, expressing alarm over what appears to be a new level of government scrutiny. Visas can be canceled for a number of reasons, but college leaders say that the government has been quietly terminating legal residency status with little notice to students or schools. We're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in the hour, but Talmadge is back with us, and you can hear me loud and clear. Talmadge?
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me. Okay. Well,
I'm going to go back on and click the link again because my picture's flashing, your picture's flashing.
So we are going to figure this out. Talmadge, are you there? The wonders of technology. The wonders of technology. Well, while we are working to figure that out, see, this is how you know it's a live show. It's a live show. Anything can happen. Anyone can join us at any given time. But we do our darndest to make sure that we have really cool guests that join us to talk about really cool things beyond the headlines. Talmadge certainly hits the mark on that and more. But as I was saying earlier about colleges around the U.S., saying that some of the international student visas are being revoked, this is something that is quite serious. I mean, can you imagine being in a foreign country on a visa and suddenly it's revoked? Suddenly your life is upended, and why? Maybe you attended a protest. Maybe you posted something on social media. Maybe you are associated with somebody that, your government deems suspicious, deems a threat, right? I mean, these are the times that we're living in. And for people who are less familiar about how student visas work, typically students in other countries, they've got to meet a series of requirements to obtain a student visa. It's usually called an F1. And after gaining admission to a school in the US, students they go through an application and interview process at a US embassy or a consulate abroad. And students on these F1 visas, they've got to show that they have enough financial support for their course of study in the US, and they have to remain in good standing with their academic program, and they're generally limited in their ability to work off campus during their academic program. So that is an issue. Entry visas are managed by the State Department. And once folks are in the U.S., international students, their legal status is overseen by this exchange visitor program that's under the Department of Homeland Security. So a whole lot of leaders at a whole lot of colleges learn that the legal status of some of their international students have been terminated. And so, that has been quite an issue. I think we have Talmadge Boston joining us. You can hear us loud and clear?
Yes.
All right, no worries, no worries. Look, technology sometimes is a little crazy, but we're really glad to have you here. And before the break, I was asking you about presidential comebacks. And no doubt, President Trump has had the comeback story of comeback stories when it comes to presidential politics. But there are a number of presidents that you have studied that have had their own comebacks during their presidencies, where every president experiences peaks and valleys. What can we learn from a presidential comeback that may apply to our own personal comeback stories?
Well, I think the bottom line is you just can't give up, that there are going to be serious setbacks, and either you got the character to overcome them or you don't. Two presidents who come to mind immediately: Abraham Lincoln, who the first 2+ years of his presidency, the Northern Army was losing almost every battle. Situation looked hopeless. As it got to 1864, it was time for him to run for re-election. He didn't think he'd be reelected, and even submitted a letter to his cabinet saying that he did not.
And we lost Mr. Boston, but we have a great team. We have a great team that is working to figure that out, and so we hope to.
Who've been trained in Latin America by our CIA, invaded Cuba and were promptly wiped out by Castro's army.
Well, we are going to figure that out if we can figure that out. But let me just talk to you a little bit about this book that I'm really excited about, and our team is going to work really hard to get Mr. Talmadge back on at some point so that we can really lean into some pretty extraordinary insights that he's gleaned from this book. It's not often that you talk to people, who have studied not one, not two, not three, not four, but 8 presidents. 8 presidents. Very different presidents. Presidents who were Democrats, presidents that were Republicans, presidents that had to govern in times of war, in times of crisis. And this is a good time for us to sort of take a long view at the traits of so many presidents, given that we have current president that is wildly unconventional. That's just one way to put it. And hopefully by learning about some of these other presidents, it helps us to be able to look at this Trump presidency, the second term of President Trump, in focus. John Meacham, a Pulitzer Prize-winning presidential biographer, you know what he's saying about just the FDR chapter in this book? He said, quote, "No president has been more successful than FDR in moving public sentiment forward one step at a time, and no one has been more successful in analyzing the secrets of that success than Talmadge Boston." His terrific chapter on FDR provides a riveting account of the critical role that Roosevelt's rhetorical skills played in saving our democracy. That's what John Meacham had to say about this book. That's what he had to say about author Talmadge Boston. Doris Kearns Goodwin, another Pulitzer-winning author of No Ordinary Time, Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, while most people agree that Reagan was a consequential president, Talmadge Boston shows just how and why he was. Combing through extensive research and insights while compelling prose, she says that Boston distills the essence of Reagan's leadership qualities. And so both Democrat and Republican presidents, there's so much to learn. We look forward to having Talmadge Boston back on when we can hear him and experience this conversation clearly. Again, Talmadge Boston's book, How the Best Did It, Leadership Lessons from Our Top Presidents. You got to check it out. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice. You tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
Hey there. It's now.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Sports personality Stephen A. Smith says he's leaving all doors open to a presidential run. Though he dislikes politics, the TV host says he's fed up. Black Minnesota Senate President Bobby Joe Champion is stepping down as ethics chair amid conflict of interest claims. He backed a $1 million grant for a nonprofit he once represented, but says it was pro bono and did not require disclosure. Seattle will pay $950,000 to African-American Captain Eric Greening, who sued former police chief Adrian Diaz for racial discrimination and retaliation. He's the 7th officer to sue the department following 6 women who also accused leaders of discrimination and harassment. And funeral services were held for former Utah Congresswoman Mia Love, who died at 49 after battling brain cancer. She was the first Black Republican woman in Congress and Utah's first Black lawmaker. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Crash in Pomona involving a big rig on its side, 60 westbound past Phillips Ranch Road. The 3 right lanes are blocked. Big delays getting away from Reservoir. In Eagle Rock, they're wrapping this wreck up on the 134 eastbound before Colorado. Last check, it was blocking the carpool in 2 left lanes. Big delays out of Burbank getting away from Buena Vista Street. And the drive along the 105. This is eastbound before Vermont. Heading into South LA, that's where the carpool lane is blocked due to a wreck. Overall, slowing out of Hawthorne, getting away from the 405.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the dagger?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The UCLA and USC women's basketball teams will finish the season ranked among the top 5 in the final Associated Press Top 25 poll. The final AP poll ranks UCLA 3rd and USC 5th. Connecticut is number 1, followed by South Carolina and Texas. If the Lakers happen to meet up with the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs, the Nuggets will have a new coach. Mike Malone was fired Tuesday morning with just 3 games left in the regular season. Malone was in his 10th year with Denver. The Nuggets have lost 4 straight and 7 of their last 10. In 2023, Malone led the Nuggets to a 4-game sweep over the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals en route to an NBA championship. Nuggets owner Josh Kroenke made the decision to kick Malone to the curb now instead of after the season. Josh is the son of Rams owner Stan Kroenke. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
After producing an award-winning climate justice campaign in 2024, KBLA Talk 1580 has gone all in on its 2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus in partnership with Providence Health Systems presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive health care network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and we are digging even deeper into the headlines. Everybody that is in our More Perfect group chat on YouTube, feel free to chime in and be a part of the conversation. Did you all see this earlier today? I mean, so the stocks are going topsy-turvy. And for anybody who is concerned about their retirement savings, for anybody who is concerned about, the threat of potential recession, right? Folks are paying extra close attention to this and hearing one of the president's top advisors call his top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks. How does that make you feel? That don't make me feel any better. Elon Musk, as reported by NBC News, just today he blasted President Trump's top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, as a moron, dumber than a sack of bricks, in a spat that underscores the discord among the president's top allies over his sweeping tariffs set to go into effect this week. During a CNBC interview just yesterday, Navarro took a shot at Musk, saying that the billionaire Tesla CEO is, quotes, not a car manufacturer, but rather a car assembler who obtains cheap parts for Tesla vehicles from abroad. Wow, looks like he's pulling the cloak back a little bit. He went on to say, we all understand in the White House and the American people understand that Elon Musk's a car manufacturer, but he's not a car manufacturer. He's a car assembler in many cases. He said that at Musk's Tesla plant in Texas, a portion of the engines, at least for the electric vehicles, contain batteries that come from Japan and China. And other electronics are imported from Taiwan. He went on to suggest that acquiring car parts from foreign countries is bad for economics. It's bad for our national security. I mean, did these folks have a plan? I mean, is all of this just haphazard? Are folks just sort of waking up in the morning and say, okay, we're going to slap another tariff, and we're going to double the tariff on China and a number of our allies? That's what it feels like. Replying to an X post of the Navarro interview, Musk said that Navarro is, quotes, truly a moron. He went on to say, what he says here is demonstrably false. And he added in another post that Tesla has, quotes, the most American-made cars. Navarro is dumber than a sack of bricks. He later sarcastically apologized, saying the comparison was so unfair to the bricks. Musk broke with Trump on Saturday on the tariff, saying at an event that he wants to see a, quotes, zero tariff situation between the U.S. and Europe. And so wait a minute. So you got Elon Musk, one of the president's top advisors, who's leading DOGE, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. You got that happening. Meanwhile, you got this spat between Elon and the top trade advisor to the president. Elon saying that he, quotes, wants to see a zero tariff situation. Navarro seemingly backing up the president in support of tariffs, right? Who's in charge? Who's in charge? Who is the adult in the room to say this? If this is what we want to do, this may not be the way we want to do it. If this is what we want to do, maybe this isn't the best way to communicate this. If this is what we want to do, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't be arguing about this in the public. Because cut to the U.S. stock market, cut to our U.S. allies around the world and the economic jitters that they are feeling and experiencing, it's not good. You know, so many economies around the world work off of the U.S. currency. And there are some folks that are theorizing, maybe even speculating, that this kind of chaos might be some weird part of some weird plan to devalue the dollar. Who benefits when the dollar is devalued? Who benefits? We don't benefit. Your retirement savings doesn't benefit. Who benefits? Well, I contend, and I'm no economist, I only interview them, but I contend that seems to me like the oligarchs, that the richest people among us are the best equipped to absorb the shock. You know, if suddenly there's a recession and people are tightening their belts and suddenly, you know, folks are not buying those new appliances, not buying that new car, not buying that house that they've been saving up for, if suddenly people are pulling back, well, who has the ability to do those things? Very rich people. Very rich people have the ability to do that. They could go through and buy up all the residential housing they want. And that means that top 1% ends up owning even more of the wealth in this country. You know, for everybody who took issue with, you know, billionaires owning certain media outlets, for example, whether we're talking about the LA Times, the Washington Post, right? What do you think is going to happen if there's a recession and the only folks that have the resources to be able to keep these things afloat, if not purchase them outright, are the rich? What happens when rich people behave badly and own a lot of stuff? Not a lot of good things happen to everyday people. You talk about your workers' rights. When you talk about your civil and human rights. When you talk about your personal data and the rules of the road that govern the protection of that data. You know, when very rich people control stuff, sometimes it doesn't work out so well for the rest of us. This quarrel that's happening among some of the senior most advisors in the Trump White House does not inspire confidence. Fasten your seatbelt. It's not even 100 days in. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. The quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LAC-JCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. It is time for the quiet part out loud. And listen, ProPublica reported that on something that President Trump insinuated, and I try not to be too gratuitous with the Trump news, right? But there's just there's stuff that I think is relevant. If we're talking about building a more perfect union, it's important that we know things, right? We know a little bit about our history. We know a little bit about what goes beyond the headlines. And, while instituting the largest tariff increase in modern history, Trump claimed that the income tax, the income taxes that you and I pay, that they take out of our check, that the income tax was passed for, quotes, reasons unknown to mankind and caused the Great Depression. But I want to give people a little bit of the real history. Now, let me set the scene. In his Rose Garden speech, launching a global trade war by announcing some of the most sweeping tariffs in modern history, President Trump bestowed a history lesson to his audience that diverged from the factual record. In other words, he told a lie. Quotes, then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in 1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it's never happened. It would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different history, end quote. That's what the President of the United States said from the Rose Garden. So ProPublica raises the question, so why did we institute an income tax? Were there any humans who knew what the reasoning was? And did the actions of 1913, did they lead to the Great Depression in 1929? Well, there's a clear consensus among historians on these points. No, the income tax was not a mistake, but it was something stranger, both a 40-year struggle and an accident. You see, in 1913, the states ratified the 16th Amendment, which gave the federal government the power to, quote, collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived. This was not the first income tax effort, however. For a few short years during and after the Civil War, the United States imposed its first tax on income to help fund the massive costs of the war. Did you know that? Placed on relatively high incomes, but only collecting a modest percentage. It was cast as both a way to generate needed revenue and a way to maintain fairness. Yes, that's right. One of the chief selling points of taxing incomes was that it was a way of achieving equity in the burden of the war. Responding to allegations that only poor men were fighting and dying, President Abraham Lincoln, one of the folks that's featured in the book that we were just talking about, President Lincoln and his Republican Party, they made sure that the law required that the taxes people paid would be publicly disclosed. Unsurprisingly, the wealthy men of the dawning Gilded Age, they didn't like seeing their tax information in the pages of the New York Times. Funny how things don't change there. Wealthy interest forced a repeal of the income tax in 1871, and the federal government returned to funding itself with proceeds from user fees and tariffs. So efforts to rein in the rich, they persisted. However, Congress moved in 1894 to reintroduce an income tax. The populist Kansas politician William Jennings Bryan gave a famous speech on the floor of Congress responding to the argument that the wealthy would leave America if they had to pay such a tax. So then they proposed it as a 2% tax on the top incomes. So, I mean, it's important that we know this history. It's important that we study this history. It's important that we study it and we know it, so we're aware when people attempt to manipulate it. or flat out lie about it. That's critically important. And so when it comes to these tariffs, this idea that we're going to impose tariffs on China and all of our foreign trade partners, and that's going to bring in enough revenue for us to run our government. Is that realistic? We're not going to even just test and learn a little bit. We're just going to go all in. Does that work for anybody else in any other part of the world? We spent all this time coming together, building strategic partnerships and alliances, really ensuring that our economies were intertwined. You start slapping tariffs on folks. This is the stuff that gets our global economy to begin to unravel. In other words, it's like opening Pandora's box. Do you want to take a peek? No, I don't want to take a peek. This is that scene from the movie Ghost when Oda Mae Brown says to Molly, "You in danger, girl." Hard to not feel that way. When we come forward in our next hour, there's a real life survivor of cult life. She was seriously in danger and got out of it, and now has a hit podcast where she talks to other people who have found their way out of the cult life. Timely conversation, just saying. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, accused in Tupac Shakur's 1996 murder, is facing trial today in a separate jailhouse fight case. His lawyer says Davis acted in self-defense and was hit first in the December incident. Flooding in the South and Midwest continues to threaten communities, including many Black neighborhoods. In Kentucky, at least 4 people are dead, highways are underwater, and rivers